so much to talk about. Thanks, Daniel, or whoever did that. There is just so much to talk about with what's going on with AI, what's going on with our reactions to AI, et cetera. We figured it was important to do regular workshops about just what's going on, what's new, what's different. I always want to preface this to say, well, I haven't always done this, but I'm going to start. I'm not a medical educator. I do not claim to be I'm not a medical anything. I'm just an educator. I'm a very curious educator who likes to learn about things. And so, as I'm learning about AI and as I'm learning about medical education, I'm learning more about medical education and medicine and AI altogether, but I am not a medical educator. I'll never tell you what to teach. I'm never going to tell you what you have to do. I just want to share what I know and what I've found. And more importantly, I want to hear about what you're doing and how you're using these tools and how can we help to bring them more into your focus. Um, Getting a lot of new people in. Let's hopefully they're all coming and not leaving. Um, I'm hearing all the dings. It's making me nervous. For today, we're just going to, like I say, quick 20-minute overview about what's new, what we've seen, hopefully some time for some Q&A, and hopefully a little bit of what's coming up next. Um, Out of curiosity, what are y'all using right now? Just a show of hands or put it in the chat or whatever. What are you guys using? What are you doing? Come off mic, speak it out. Don't all talk at once. All chat GPT and Lynette's using Claude. Very nice. Anybody else?
Yeah, a lot of Claude over here for sure.
Got a little bit of Copilot. Awesome. So really what it comes down to is that it's not about whether we're using AI or not. It's about which one are we going to use for what and why. Even more importantly than that, though, it's about how are you going to encourage your students to think about it. And Emily is thinking about ditching Claude after changes to its privacy policies, and I'm going to let her just talk about that in a little bit. By the way, thank you to all of my colleagues here who are feel free to jump in at any point from either city or from Emily's office, which is the educational AI office. Please feel free to jump in and ask questions at any point. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's so ubiquitous at this point that we have no choice but to start thinking about how are we going to encourage our students to think about it? What are we going to do when they do use it? And how are we going to respond? How are we going to react and whatnot? Has everybody heard about the new Chat GPT 5? Woo! Yay! Big hype, big headlines everywhere. What did y'all hear about it? Lynette says no in all caps. Essentially, OpenAI came out with Claude GPT-5, which is the newest. It disappointed the markets. It did. Everybody expected it was going to be the next great big thing. Andrew chimed in with it disappointed, and he's not wrong. Even Emily was saying earlier we were chatting, and she said, meh, it's not really that much different from 4. What they do say that's different about it though is that it automatically routes your query and it will select the strongest model that you need, whether it's fast deep research, whether it's just a quick response with more surface level stuff. They do have more of an emphasis on accuracy and safety and more of a clinical style reasoning. We'll put that up to we'll let you guys be the judge on that because I can't speak on that. We all know. It is available in ChatGPT. ChatGPT P4 hasn't gone away, by the way. It's still around and it's still very, very good. Gemini 2.5 from Google's DeepMind is their flagship, and it also has been going through updates. They don't get the press that ChatGPT does, but they do a lot more with images and movies and videos. They have a whole ecosystem that Google uses, and one that's not all that secure and one that's not all that careful about privacy, which is one of the reasons why Rush actually doesn't want us to use the Google ecosystem. They would prefer that we use the Microsoft. We're a Microsoft house, period, plain and simple. So that's one of the reasons why they're really leaning into Copilot. And then, of course, Claude 4.0 has been around. I think it came out right before ChatGPT 5. It says August 1st, but I don't think that date's right, actually. I'd have to look at that again. But Claude 4.0 has really been, or 4.1 rather, has been it's the emotional support animal of the group. I've always really appreciated how Claude responds to my tone, while the others don't always do that. Like I feel that when I'm working with ChatGPT 5, it's very much it's I kind of feel that it's skimming vast quantities of knowledge. I sense that it's doing these things. Whereas with Claude, it sounds more natural. It feels more natural, more like a conversation. That's a bias from me. Um, and that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to say this one is a good one or that one is a good one, or you should use this or you should use that, because a lot of it is just what feels right to us as users. Let me just jump into the chat. Bronca's saying that is creating AI extensions to use with their browser. Here's the newest that is starting concerning a lot of. Do you want to just talk about that, Bronca?
Uh, I literally just came across it this morning, so I was kind of doing some research, but it is a paid subscription. Yeah, it's not hugely expensive. Um, and since it's a paid subscription, I wasn't really able to really use it because I don't want to pay for it, to be honest. But if you have a motivated student who's going to want to pay it, they will pay it. But what it does is basically you can take a screenshot using a Gemini, right? The extension, create a screenshot of, like, let's say a homework problem, and it'll generate the answer for you.
It will do that and then some. And that's and here's the kicker. It's getting more and more accurate as time goes
This,
on,
right,
not
but
less and
this one,
less.
yeah, this one integrates with Canvas, which is
Yes. Yes. Now we
uh
don't have, just because it can integrate with Canvas doesn't mean that we have to take it on board. And we don't, Daniel's going to speak on that a little bit
yeah.
later.
So
Um,
integrate as in we create the extension in Canvas. Integrate as in you put that extension in Google Chrome and you can use it with Canvas. I should say it that way. Let me
Like,
backtrack on how I'm wording
ah,
this. Yeah, it doesn't like integrate like we integrate like pull everywhere within Canvas. It
I've
just
actually
takes
with the up and coming agentic tools, I have even been practicing with trying to get an agent to build my course for me. Like that it I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm working on it. That's what I tinker with in the wee hours of the morning when I'm, because I'm inherently a lazy person and lazy people look for the easiest way to do things. And so I'm looking for whether or not I can, and it's not a rush course, by the way. Don't panic. I'm not putting anybody's data into a server. Oh, no, no, no. This is my own course for my own purposes. Um, and yeah, like Emily is saying, that they can actually complete an online course. So we have to be thinking in terms of what are we going to do about that as educators. Speaking of courses, and thank you, Bronca, for bringing that up, because that's what this is all about in part. This next slide talks about humanity's last exam, which I don't know how many people are familiar with it, but it's 2,500 questions, and the questions were created by human beings over 100 different subjects, and it's supposed to be the quintessential last exam that will ever need to be created, to thwart, or not thwart, but to test the limits of large language models, right? And so it's basically, the humanities last exam was created, but the benchmarks that they've been testing LLMs, and the benchmarks against which they've been testing them aren't keeping up with the large language models anymore. So this humanities last exam talks about the fact that it it asks questions that measure the AI's performance across math, the humanities, natural sciences, and this actually did better than its predecessors. You can see quite strikingly, GPT 4.40 with no tools only managed to answer 5.3%, and now with GPT-5 Pro using tools, big difference there. It's managed to answer 42% of the exam questions properly. Without the tools, it was 30.7, so yeah, not quite as good, but still way better than it was just one generation ago. And so you have to imagine, you have to question, you have to wonder, where is it going to go from here? And that's obviously concerning as education professionals. We want to make sure that whatever it does, wherever it goes, we're ahead of the game for the students. So we've gotten our heads wrapped around that it's ubiquitous, right? But it's also now showing up uninvited. And I don't know if people are seeing it as much as I am, but even just in our own little world here in the Rush bubble, we've got Copilot, Canva, Canvas, Poll Everywhere, Kahoot. All of those things now have tools or AI tools that are integrated with, so you can create images, you can create questions, you can create prompts, blah, 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 whatever you want to do. And it will keep it's just showing up. Again, not invited. One of the things that's shown up that it wasn't exactly invited, but it's a step in the right direction, is OpenAI's Health Bench. It's not perfect. It is absolutely not the end all be all. And it might be a bit performative. Like, I'm going to be a little bit jaded, a little bit cynical here. I feel like they're at least trying to be self-aware. Not the AIs. The AIs are not self-aware yet, but the people that are creating the AIs are at least trying to show that they're being self-aware and trying to prove that they're working towards the good of humanity and not our ultimate destruction, as in Terminator, right? So they went out and they got 262 physicians from 60 different countries, and they created 5,000 different conversations based, and they graded those conversations on with rubrics that were created by physicians. And in fact, they have it was a crowdsourced in a sense, and they reached out to thousands of people to create this. So again, it's an acknowledgement that they know that they're not there yet, and we have to know that they're not there yet too. More importantly, we have to teach the students that they're not there yet. Instead of thinking of them as an end all be all, we think of them as a virtual assistant, as, a moderately talented virtual assistant, somebody they can go out and gather the first stages of my research. We think of them as a thought partner. I like to think of them as a strategic thought partner. So, hey, Claude, I'm thinking this, that, and the other thing. How does that mesh with yada, yada, yada? And Claude will come back through, and if I put on the deep research function, he'll go out and troll the web for all the sum of all human knowledge about whatever topic I'm looking at, and sort of frame it for me so that I can think about, okay, where do I want to take this? And I use this all the time. I use it in presentations, I use it in classes, I use it in learning when I'm creating learning objectives. I'm always bouncing ideas off from Claude and then riffing with Claude to see, how can I get this to where I want it to be? What if I try this? What if I try that? It's infinitely better to try those things with an AI and see if it works before you try it in the classroom, or God forbid with, during surgery. Um, so strategic thought partner, not Google. We don't need it for Google anymore. We have Google. And then I put trust but verify, because that's something new. Because before, we weren't even really trusting it. And we were verifying, but we didn't, even then we did. And I'm still at that place myself. Like, the incidences of citation hallucination is markedly down, but I trust it less now than I did in the beginning, because the more I read and the more I see, the more I can see it. I want to just make sure that my reputation isn't going to be harmed by my use of AI. So I'm even more verification oriented than I was in the beginning. In the beginning, I was bowled over by how quick it was. Now I'm like, yeah, okay, you're quick, but are you any good? Um, and when I think about that, I think about using multiple AI tools And I actually have taken to playing them off one another. So using Claude to put something that I generated with Gemini into Claude to get Claude's feedback on what I got from Gemini. I also always remind people about the Rush official Rush policy. There is one. It's linked in this presentation. I'll be sending that out soon. Remember that Copilot is integrated and the default AI model. These are just reminders. We've talked about all this before. I always take every opportunity to remind people about HIPAA and FERPA. There's nothing new there. One of the new things that we have is AI Literacy 2025, developed and maintained by Emily. And I'm going to try to bring that up. Is there anything about that that you want to discuss, Emily, or do you want to just say a word about the new iteration?
I can say that there weren't substantial updates because it was designed to be evergreen, but if faculty are interested, I can give them language they might consider incorporating into their course policy regarding more recent technological developments like smart glasses and agentic AI.
Yeah, I still can't wrap my head around smart glasses. I'm going to be a late adopter on those. I can't, I'm already oversaturated with information. I can't imagine having something on my head that's on my face that's going to make it even more difficult. Um, a quick nod to the AI learning community, also the brainchild of Emily, Dr. Emily Rush. You're meeting on the 18th, I think you said, Emily?
I think it's the 16th or 17th. If you are interested and have not joined the group yet, please just feel free to email me and I can add you.
And then, of course, we have our AI symposium that we've been working on for the last several months. We're looking forward to showcasing some of the newer ideas there as well. If you haven't signed up for the AI symposium, please do so. There's even more new stuff coming up there. The last thought that, or the main thought I want to leave you with before I turn it over to Daniel is that your mentorship, your clinical reasoning, and the professional development that you offer to students can't be replaced ever, no matter what. So if you are still on the fence about AI, consider that how you are responding to AI is your students are watching you. And so how you're responding to AI is how they're going to respond to AI. And so if you find yourself, pushing back against all these new things that are coming out, you start to dig in a little deeper so that you can at least have the response that you want before you get caught, with them using something that you wouldn't have wanted to. Um, I'm going to turn it over to Daniel real quickly, and we're going to talk about humans in the loop and Canvas.
Tag, while we are waiting for that, can I just
Oh, sure.
you had a little bullet point called the Boodle box. Are you going to talk about that?
Yeah, you noticed it. Darn it, Emergene. I was hoping that I meant to take that out and I didn't. I tucked it away in the corner. I was gonna talk about it, but then we don't know if we're getting it yet, and it's just on the list of things that we're talking about. There's a committee that's dedicated to deciding how we're going to proceed with our AI initiatives, and I'm not on that committee, so I don't want to speak to it. But I know that Boodlebox is one of the potential solutions that we're looking at.
I just want to add that Adam and I had some discussions about their claim that the data that you enter would not be used for training other models, and they will be sort of like anonymizing it as well as putting in snippets of your prompts. So Adam and I are slightly concerned as to, first of all, if you break up your own prompts, who's deciding that? What is a snippet? And are you really getting the answer back that you expected? So other than that, I mean, privacy, yeah, that's going to be a big concern. But that major thing is it worth it if we don't know what we are putting in is being used for generating the answer?
And that's one of the reasons why I think that it's been a bit of a frustrating journey, I would say, at Rush, only because this came on the scene so quickly. And for a while, I felt like Rush was really far behind, and we are in terms of when you talk about, the MITs, the Stanfords, and the schools that have much bigger money than we do, and whole departments that can work on this stuff, right? Because they have the undergrad students and the computer science programs and whatnot. So I feel as though it's important that we take enough time to really investigate whether or not it's the right tool. And even if we buy it and it's exactly the right tool, the big question for me is it going to be the right tool 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 10 months down the road? Like, how flexible is it, and how evergreen will it be? And I don't know. I just don't know. I think those are really important questions that you and Adam are asking.
Thanks.
Can I jump in just for a second? I put in the chat, this is the explanation that we received from Boodlebox about how they the decryption process and how they anonymize content. So they gave us a little bit of diagram to attempt to better explain your question, Amarjeet.
Yeah, I saw that. I think Adam shared that with me. But that concern still remains. How do you know how well your prompts are being conveyed forward to get the answer?
I
I
think
think
that's
we have to do some testing to compare free range output versus caged output.
Anyway, we can discuss that some other time. We don't want to make Daniel wait too long.
Right. Good point. And Laura says she wants to get some more info on the environmental impact. Oof, that's a
Yeah.
big one. I didn't put that in, Laura, but we can talk about it for sure. Daniel, take off. It's all you. Sorry
Hello,
for the
everyone.
delay.
No, no worries. So we've got human in the loop, or a looping human as the case may be here, but we're sort of introducing this portion. I'm really discussing Canvas, and we'll just do a kind of a quick summary. This year's InstructureCon, which is Canvas's big annual conference, was, as you might expect, pretty focused on AI and its implications and sort of what Canvas and their partners are doing in regards to AI in education. And so one idea that sort of stuck with me, a term that they were using, is human in the loop. And this idea that AI is not something that should be used to replace human activity. It should be rather something that assists, that takes care of, maybe we'll call it the mundane things, for example, the routine activities, to take those away to allow more time for actual teaching, for example, the really core of what you do. So here you see enhancing and not replacing, oversight and control. So that shows up in different ways. One of the key ones, I think, is this idea that they maintain human oversight. So if AI is doing something, if you're using an AI translation tool, for example, which is a new tool that's coming from Canvas, that you wouldn't lose the ability, for example, to see the original text. Something as simple as that, but critical, right? You don't want to necessarily just trust what the AI has generated for you, things along those lines. So that seemed to be kind of at the heart of a lot of what Canvas in particular is trying to advance in their adoption of AI. And really quickly, an example that they provided was a writer had posted something on her blog and said, essentially, I want AI to do the dishes and take out the garbage so that I have more time to write, not the other way around. And I really liked that, and I'm optimistic and hopeful that that kind of thinking shows up as Canvas in particular makes further inroads into adopting AI. Next one, please. Okay, so new features coming in Canvas. We actually just have 2 new AI-enabled features that we've turned on in our instance of Canvas. One of those is Smart Search, and that essentially it's contained within your course, and you and your students are able to do, again, sort of smarter searches. It's not just looking for a key phrase, for example, it's looking for ideas within your course. And the idea, again, for here is that students are more readily able to get information that they need from your course. And likewise, you are as well. If you're looking for documentation and such, you may be able to find it more easily using this rather than, I think we've all done from time to time, the scroll through the files section or the pages section trying to find something. This gives you a smarter way to find that. And I'm going to say a little bit more about these implementations in a moment. The other one is the discussion summary. And again, these are all contained within the course. It's using the idea of generative AI, but it's not feeding a model outside of your course. This information is certainly not providing any PII outside of your course. Everything is happening within. And again, discussion summary is particularly useful in this regard with larger courses where you may have very large discussions. It allows you as an instructor, and this is an instructor-facing tool only, to be able to go in and query the discussion that's going on. What are leading thoughts? What are areas that people may be expressing difficulty with? Things along those lines. And it starts to give you some more information that you might otherwise have gleaned by going prompt, reply by reply by reply. Not to say you may still and maybe should do that individually, but this gives you another tool to be able to draw some more information out. All right, next slide, please. Next, okay, great. AI Nutrition Facts is the piece that I wanted to really share with you because I like the idea behind this that Canvas is doing. 4 new features that Canvas is putting in place. You see they're partnering with a couple other slightly well-known third-party folks. But AI Nutrition Facts, they sort of base it on the nutrition label you see on your products, but for them, they're talking about what are the key things that you need to know before you utilize this tool and certainly other tools as well. So you'll see here, I'm actually going to try to share my window if I can. Get mine up here. How are we doing for time? Are we like running right up against time? Okay, I won't share.
But
Okay, but you'll notice here, if you look at this little example here, they're going through and what's the description of the tool. In this particular case, it's the Smart Search. It's telling what the tool does basically. What model is it using? The base model is Cohere Embedded Multilingual. Trained with user data? No. Okay, so right off the back at top, it's telling you this is not using your student's data or anybody's data for this. Data shared with the model. Course content is indexed by model and then stored in the Canvas database. Privacy, but within the Canvas database, it's not going out. And then data retention, data is not stored or reused by the model. Data logging, it does not happen. And it goes on, for example, to show that PII, and this actually goes much deeper as far as the AI Nutrition Facts, but what they're trying to do is give you more information about the tools that you're using. And I'm hopeful, and I think Canvas is as well, that this idea becomes more common throughout the industry. Next one, please. Did anyone have a question? I heard a voice.
I didn't feel like your screen shared anything. It looked the
Oh,
same as before.
I didn't, in the interest of time, I didn't go ahead and share my screen.
Okay, I was confused because I was trying to read the little print on the little white page there.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sorry about it. No
Okay.
worries. But anyway, just before I head out, there is one link that I would like to share with y'all, and that is Canvas's site on.
I put the AI initiatives on there. I didn't put the marketplace yet.
Okay, I'll do that right now. You can go ahead and continue. I'll just put that into the chat.
Okay, so because we're running a little bit over, we're starting to get close to, and I want to leave a little, well, we're actually over. In the interest of respecting your time, we will conclude with, generally speaking, GPT-5 is the newest, best overall for deep reasoning and safer outputs, according to themselves. There's a little, the others are going to say the same thing. The Google Gemini Pro is great for multimodal research, analyzing images. They do tremendous work with audio and video. I don't know if you've seen their Nano Banana yet, but that's the Nano Banana is their new image application where you can actually put any image in that you have chosen. And if you want a red background instead of a green background, if it's a picture of, I don't know, a piece of lake trout and boiled potatoes and green beans from last night's dinner, you can say that instead of lake trout, I'd like salmon on that plate, please. And it will dutifully switch out the lake trout for salmon. And so things like that are just all over the place right now, and it's only gonna keep getting more involved and more dramatic what it can do. Um, and students will continue to find ways to use it. So again, we're back to that same thing. We have to learn too. Claude is still great for writing and being a supportive coach. I'm a little sorry I put some of the things I put in there because I've used it to work through some some issues. As I went through my time in Vermont last month, used it and I asked questions about how should I handle this? How should this is coming up? How does this normally work? And I got a lot of really great feedback. But as I was going through, I began to notice that it was repeating itself an awful lot. And I was like, huh. And so I asked it, I said, are you responding based on what I'm saying or just based on it? At the end of the day, folks, it's still just ones and zeros, right? So it's not really talking to us the way that it seems to be. So yeah, and now that there's all these privacy issues, I'm thinking I'm going to ditch Claude too. And then of course, OpenAI 4.0 is still around, still very robust, and still widely deployed. It's just mostly going to be superseded by 5 pretty soon here. If you need to talk about anything, want to talk about anything, you're free to contact us. And I've attached a slew of resources on the back pages of the deck, which I'll send out to y'all. Does anybody have any questions before we have to go? And I'm sorry for keeping us late. Andy, did you want to talk about the your newsletter?
Oh, I just gratuitously threw, and I did an analysis of the impact of technology on sustainability because there's this claim floating around out there that AI is going to solve the environmental sustainability challenges that we're facing. And I think there's reason for skepticism.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
Oh, I think there are reasons for skepticism.
Oh, 100%. I think, and that the problem that I see is that as users and as educators, we see what the problems are. Like we are well aware of the issues, but we can't convince other people not to use it because of those issues. Like they're not going to give it up now that they've got it. So how do we teach them to use it? Like how, and I don't know the answer to this, right? We have a lot of there's a lot of information out there, but making people read it is challenging. Making people listen to it is challenging. Getting people to actually come to the table is challenging. So if you guys have ideas on how we can better get our message across, I'm all ears. Because sometimes, I mean, there's only 12 of us in this room out of how many people that work on campus. And so I've got to ask myself, and oftentimes it's the same 10 or 12 people that come to our workshops, right? So what do we need to do that differently to ensure that we're getting this word out? And I leave that, it's an open-ended question because I want to hear, what do we need to do? I'll
You
stop
should-
sharing.
You
even.
should ask AI Peg.
That's not a bad idea, Lori.
I have one question. I just saw a news story recently, and it was about like how I'm thinking of how the student's going to use AI to, I'll say cheat on all my assignments, but teachers can use AI to like check them too. And we had Turnitin, and we still do, and you could, throw a paper in there and it would scrub it and see, if it was plagiarized. Um, are there any tools in Canvas? Like there was something that was tied to Chat GPT-5 in this news story that teachers were using, where it scrubs the students' work to see if they use Chat GPT to
Yep. I know exactly what the one you're talking about. It's a tool from CopyLeaks, and it's a text analysis tool that can potentially identify plagiarism, recognize AI generated content, verify ownership, and empower error-free writing. And it's a waitlisted product right now. It's not out there yet. I will say this about that. I haven't seen it. I haven't looked at it. I don't know what it does differently than Turnitin, but I know that up to this point, Turnitin has not been a good tool for AI detection, and there are no good tools for AI detection. If CopyLeaks is going to do something dramatically different that's going to put those flags on there, more power to them, but I view with suspicion and eye with alarm because I really want us to get away from the idea that we have to catch students doing something wrong. I would rather spend our energy on catching them doing something right with AI, right? Like instead of telling them not to use it because it might not give them the output, teach them how to use it to develop their ideas further, to ask different questions, to consider different opinions, to whatever. But again, it comes back to the idea of authentic assessment. And some people are even talking about going back to blue books, which I am not a fan of. My eye is twitching at the very notion of that. But authentic assessment, where students actually have to present what they know in an authentic manner, generally speaking, without any supporting help like AI, is to me the way to go, rather than creating a new tool that's going to. We need to get away from read this, write that. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me.
I hear you.
Great question, though. Other thoughts? And again, I know I've kept us late. I appreciate everybody staying as long as they have. All right. Well, with that, I will end it unless you have other thoughts. By all means, reach out if you have questions. We want to keep coming at you with, with as much information as we can so that you guys can make your own decisions. And hopefully, find something new to play with and learn something new yourselves, because as we all know, that's how we keep fresh. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Peg.
Thanks, Peg.